Welcome to the Heartwork podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sara.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to another episode of the Heartwork podcast. Today we are starting another series, but this time, instead of talking about building the brick and mortar, we're going to talk about building the doc team to serve the community. And we're excited for this because one, this is actually relevant or super relevant to me in my time in the sense that I am hiring my first associate. And so it really is so exciting. Sara obviously has a lot of experience, not only being an associate, so on the associate side of things, but also having hired and let go of associates and also in the process of even recently hiring more associates. So really excited to discuss this with you guys. This episode is going to be more about the background and leading into that associateship. So we're really excited to go forward.
So excited. So I'll share a little bit about my story and then kind of how it got me into wanting to do things very differently for my associates and like my doc team. Because I think anybody that has either been an associate, hopefully you've been a part of a really, really beautiful one, but I've heard a lot of horror stories outside of that as well. So, and if you're on any Facebook Chiro group, a lot of times there's just like not great responses or conversations around it, which is unfortunate when I think about just this profession, along with anytime that this could be relevant for anybody in a higher level, like profession where you're adding on other colleagues, other clinicians, other people that have a higher level position within your company. Because I've had the opportunity, and it's been such a beautiful gift of hiring multiple different associates. I've had a couple of them leave prior to their contract now at this point, and just also hired on a newest associate 2 weeks ago as well. So just a fun journey of all of it. And I've also had somebody with me for now going on 8 years. So it's just been such a fun thing, and which is so wild. So a little bit about just my journey with also just kind of started this whole thing for me. So when I was graduating from chiropractic school, I had always had the intention of wanting to start my own practice. And it was always something that I'm like, I don't know if I want to associate, because for one, at the time and the groups that I was in, it almost made it sound like associates were like the workhorses and like you were the scum of the earth almost, and you weren't good enough if you didn't go open a practice. That's just the way that I perceived it, and also the way I thought about myself if I was going to associate. And so I ended up not starting my own practice and getting called to be a part of a practice here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and really kind of I said for a long time, I feel like I had a delayed dream occur before I was able to open my own practice. And so I ended up associating for 4.5 years and freaking learned a lot of things I didn't want to do, but also learned a lot of things I did want to do. And it was a beautiful experience, and I am a better person for it. I truly do believe that. I'm a very empathetic individual when it comes to leading my team in different ways. And I don't know if I would have been right just out of the get-go. I learned obviously my craft, and I learned how to really also just take care of people. And because the practice that I went into was a very high volume practice, we saw thousands of people every single week. And at that point, you have to be on not only with your craft and your skill, but you have to be on with how you communicate to people. And that's something sometimes, especially with new students that come right out of school or new doctors, don't always just have that skill yet because you haven't had the repetition in there. And so that was something that I don't know if I would have experienced in that if I would have experienced it just with starting practice right away, at least. And it would have just been more trial and error as I was just trying to navigate it myself. So as I was in the associateship, I also learned some of the things I did not want to do. I didn't get paid well in my associateship, and it was hard. I also was in that same space. So like for me, it was almost like a self-sacrifice because I was also helping do something else in our community and helping build a church and all these types of things. And so it was like, I almost don't need to be making money if I'm doing something for the kingdom almost, if that makes sense. And so,
yeah.
But then there also was this dance of pull. I'm like, well, I need to be able to pay my bills. I need to be able to I had my student loans in forbearance for 4.5 years. And so debt just continued to accrue and all these types of things. So I knew that if I ever hired another doc team, I knew that there were some non-negotiables for me that I would want to have maternity leave options for people. I wanted to have vacation options for people. I wanted to offer a decent salary. And I wanted to have them be a part of something that they felt like that they could contribute to a greater vision, even if they were not there for ever, even if they were only there for a season of time. And so when it came to me opening my practice, I actually also, this was an ego thing. I thought I was going to see, again, thousands of people a week before I hired my first associate. That did not happen. And I'm actually really grateful it didn't happen, because the person that I hired on, and she is now my clinical director, she's been the one with me for the past 8 years. She is just literally the greatest gift I could have ever experienced. And so she actually interned with us first. And then I was like, you're not leaving. Can I just keep you? Which I would have done the same for you, but you were just way too big for me in that sense. So
I was in my One Direct mind state at that point.
Oh, totally. I mean, you're hiring an associate now. So there's no reason, this is why you and I are doing this, because it was not meant to be.
All worked out. Yeah.
All worked out. Absolutely. So, but it ended up working out for the doc that's now, again, just basically leading my office at this point. And so she came sooner than I necessarily anticipated. And so again, I learned a lot from that experience, because I think you learn a lot when you hire on a doc, for one, of like, again, things not to do, but also things that are really brilliant. And you always get to evolve that relationship as well, how you do things later for other people. And so I think we have a brilliant thing in place now. You can only get better because you get feedback from your people, but it's been a beautiful journey to add people in, have them feel very much a part of your team and your culture and your journey, along with really allowing people to be themselves and have their own clinical prowess when it comes to adding in their spice and their uniqueness and their themselves, I guess, their humanness into your practice as well. So one of the things I just wanted to start with, so for when I think about associates, not all associates are built the same as well. So when I think about what I want to hire on my team, sometimes there are seasons of life that you may be in that you only need somebody just to come in and take care of your people, and that they are just a really great adjuster, that they have been doing this for a while, or even there may be a student coming out of school and they don't have the communication skills, they don't have the marketing desire, they don't want to be out building your brand with you, that they're going to be more of that person that is going to be, I'm just going to come in, really brilliantly take care of your people, and then at the same time allow the practice to grow that way, because it's going to allow you to buy back some of your time. And so for me, that was our next season of time that I hired. I hired 2 docs. It was kind of that mentality where it's like, I need to buy back some of my time as a CEO. I need people to be able to really come in and be just beautiful clinicians, obviously help us continue to grow our vision and our mission, while at the same time, I don't need them out marketing. We already had our brand kind of created. I was the one that was really curating more of that. And so their contracts looks very different. This time around, I actually just hired another one. I want her as more of a growth doc. She was somebody that when I even interviewed her, I'm like, cool, you can, just because she loves it and she loves talking to people and she's already was doing it. I pulled her from a different practice. And so, and she was doing it for them and really helped grow theirs. I'm like, cool, if you want to come help grow ours, let's do this. But their contracts also look just very different when you're building in more of a growth doc versus a doc that's just going to be more on a great clinical care. Obviously, both of them need to be great clinical care, but it's just a different journey when I'm building in not only salary, but potential KPI bonuses, as that all those different aspects as well. So just things to think about as you are embracing the road of wanting to hire. One of the things that I just really, these are just what I offer. I offer a full-time position. We are probably looking at a part-time position here in the near future. And so those may look different when you're offering benefit packages. But I think for anybody that's looking for an associateship, could ask or look for these or negotiate these types of things into a contract. I don't think it's unfair to ask for some of them. Doesn't mean that the doctor will give them, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you can't ask. And so I don't provide health insurance, but we do provide maternity leave for 8 weeks of unpaid maternity. They can take up to 12, but the last 4 would be unpaid unless they had PTO stored. We do offer a 401k package as well that has a safe harbor match on there, so that they'll have this opportunity to be able to build some retirement and build some investment strategies as well. We do offer PTO that builds as a staggered rate. I know everybody does their PTO different. By the time somebody is with me for 2+ years, they're getting 80 hours and then 120 hours of PTO that they can use throughout that year. So, and it caps at 120 for me at least. And so just ways to be able to, I mean, I would recommend finding some level of PTO within the doc or offering it within any associate as well. We offer a stipend for continuing education and memberships based on your technique. So if I have them get certified in something or we are a part of the ICPA, there's a conversation if that's something that we're keeping their membership active. We use a tool, so we provide repairs for that tool. We do obviously a very competitive salary. So a competitive salary for our area, because that's also something I think this is something that associates, or like if you're a doc looking for an associate, you may not always take this into consideration. You may see listings for a $100,000 position versus a $60,000 position, but you may not, that person may be in California where the cost of living is way higher, and the other person may be in podunk rural like Tennessee, for example, and that cost of living is just going to be very different. So you need to also take that into consideration in the team that you're joining on, because very, very different. One job that might be literally the exact same, but you just are breaking even when it comes to like your cost of living. So just keep that in the back of your mind too. You can have a really high paying, a really great salary, but it doesn't need to be in the six figures for it to be still as significant compared to your area.
Well, to that point as well, I think a lot of us get really attracted to some of those really high 5-figure, 6-figure offers because they do look nice and you come out of school and you potentially do have student loan and debt. But you don't really look into some of the fine lines around it. So, I mean, again, if you fall into an opportunity that aligns with you financially and is a really beautiful opportunity, then like by all means, we're not saying don't do that. Just make sure that you go and shadow the practice and see, is it an opportunity where, yeah, you're making 115K, but you're in that practice from 7 in the morning until 7 at night, and then you're doing notes and you get an hour lunch break and you are just pumping Monday through Friday with a Saturday morning 3-hour shift, right? Obviously, yeah, you're making more money, but that's because you have no work life, personal change and go. And then cost of living is a big thing. And also just, again, balancing what that schedule and workflow truly looks like.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things that least docs on my end, like, doesn't mean that we'll never not adjust on a Friday. Doesn't mean we won't ever expand our hours. You know, like they are aware of that and they know that. However, we do have the rhythm of a balance of culture. They have a beautiful time. Like I want my not only my team, but my doc team to be able to have life outside of our practice. We see each other all the time. We are basically all of each other's best friends, but all don't hang out all the time outside of the office, you know, like, so there has to be rhythm too. And because I don't want to, if I don't want to get burned out, I don't want my team to get burnt out, you know? So it's
Absolutely.
like, there's brilliance in that. And when I first started my associateship, I worked Monday through Saturday morning. And because I was the associate doc, I had to go in early Saturday morning. When I left there and I opened my practice to 4 days a week, they changed theirs to 4 days a week. So it's like they realize, you know what I mean? Like, it's just funny, whatever. Like, but at the end of the day, I think it's brilliant if you're open as many hours as you are, but is there opportunity to be able to take space for yourself? Or is there a structure for how that schedule is also built out so that you're not the only one that's just burning the midnight oil with every single person, you know? And having that conversation, like I feel like I'm talking from the associate perspective right now, but just having that conversation, I value as the employer when somebody has the courage to have the conversation with me and not be afraid to voice thoughts, voice your opinion, voice your concerns and your celebrations, right? Like I don't always want, you know, like if it's negative Nancy all the time, like, yeah, we're going to have a conversation. But at the same time, like I do want there to be this open bridge where we can have conversations if you're concerned about something, if you're finding yourself, your steam is decreasing, those types of things as well. And then also what you're dreaming of, you know, like I think one of the most beautiful things, again, that I've watched with Dr. Bridget, she has been, again, been with me for 8 years. And I've watched this woman have a baby, invest in their life in ways. She's literally moved 2 homes. They've literally done all these different projects on their house and all this type of stuff. And they are working on building out investment plans, financial wealth, and all that type of stuff. And it's like, you get to watch these people become human beings, but also grow up at the same time. And I want her, like, I literally asked her the other day, I was like, I want to know what your next 5-year like dreams are, you know? And she like, was like, I'm so grateful I have a leader that actually cares about those types of things, you know? And so it's like, these people, if you want them to be with you for a long time, it's like you got to provide opportunity for them to feel valued for the long term and also be okay to negotiate contracts. Like I just renegotiated my contract with Dr. Bridget for the next 2 years. And there were some things that she asked. There were some things I said yes, and there's some things I said no, and it's also okay. But there's also that's the opportunity because I want her to be with me for as long as I can keep her, so it's like, those are all those opportunities that you can, if you have the right person on your team. So
Absolutely. And I mean, we hear the biggest, again, just killer of culture because we talk so much about team, but no one talks a lot about culture between the docs as well. And when there is an element of fear or an element of like lack of approachability, again, it is a culture killer. Like you're just driving a wedge between yourself and your doc. And now there should be, I mean, you're all working on the same team. Docs can't do what I mean, at least in our practice and the style that we practice, like our docs can't do all that our docs need to do without the team working in the way that the team needs to work. And obviously the team can't serve the community in the same way if there's no doc there to provide the adjustments. So like they work together, but there is this beautiful rhythm of being able to have team and care advocates have that camaraderie, docs be able to have their camaraderie and rhythm as well. And if there is a disconnect in any part of that and the employer on top of it, now there's multiple clicks and wedges that end up getting had, and they're bonding over the fact that you are not someone that they can chat and share those things with and to. Not just on like the critique side, but on the celebration side, right? If they can't approach you with the problem, they're not as often going to approach you with the celebration either, because there's just not that sense of community or sense of kinship in a way. But kind of bringing it back to the benefits, like, does that differ? Do any of your benefits differ for a doc compared to a CA or team member?
yes. So for me, the PTO is a little bit bigger right away, comparable to a team member. They earn theirs at a slower rate because typically at least from what I've seen, there's a little bit of faster turnover comparable to like a doctor, and you're hiring them as a contract, right? So
right.
And
they're there for a certain period of time.
Yeah, so they're there for a certain period of time. And so the PTO aspect is different. My maternity leave is the same for all team members and stuff like that. They just have to be with me for 90 days for that to be able to activate for their 401k is a little different. They have to be with me for a year before they can activate theirs. And then the rhythm of doctors, they can jump in within that first month after they've had their first like onboarding with us. And so
docs can earn the 401k after the first month, team is after the first year.
Yeah. And then obviously like team wise, like I don't pay for integrators because they don't have that, what I mean? So like there's certain like level of benefit. So the other thing, my team, when they start as a care advocate, they're starting as an hourly rate. And then the difference as well with docs is they are starting on salary. So because it's a contracted benefit package of that. And you also got to think you're like docs that put in the time, right? They put in they're literally graduating with a doctorate, right? They need a salary in there. Fun little known fact, depending on if you're doing salary in different areas for your team, just make sure you know what the baseline has to be. Found this out by an accountant. So depending on, I think it's honestly across the country, but you have to be providing a certain base salary. So just make sure if you're hourly in line up with your salary, it just has to be a certain base based on what the country's allowing. So yeah, and then I think one of my other things that I just want to talk about really quick, and then I'll maybe pass it off to Marisa for her because she's hiring a part-time person, so a little bit different conversation comparable to full-time. One of the things that I have watched a lot just for associates that you're coming in, just to process and journey in, it's okay if you don't know everything all at one time. The journey as you onboard, and we're going to do this as a separate episode. We're going to talk through onboarding. However, when I look at what a really brilliant associate, what I'm looking for from somebody is somebody that wants to show up, have a positive attitude, that wants to work hard, that's resilient to change and okay with change, because change is the only thing we can ever count on. And it's okay that things evolve and flow, because it's literally just life. I do want somebody to be able to walk in and be able to hold authority and know that they're a chiropractor. At the same time, I also know that that's going to be something that's tested, because you're now moving from let's say you're just graduating, you're moving from student status, now you're walking into doctor status. And that really is a transition of identity. It's wild to watch. Every single student goes through it. I've done it with so many interns. I've done it with all these new docs. It's wild. And then also, let's say that you're an older doc and you've been practicing for a couple of years and you're moving into a different practice. Like there is an identity change when you're under different leadership and under different vision and mission. And it's just there's always some evolution of like how you fit in and how you bring your brilliance and your uniqueness to it. So giving yourself that grace and that understanding of that it's just a season of time and you're going to mold yourself into that is something that I would invite you to just watch and consider. I also love people that say yes, also know when to say no, but I want, when I'm asking people to participate with something, I want them to say yes and like be okay with saying yes, even if they're uncomfortable with it. And if they're uncomfortable with it, we got to dance in it, that's okay. But I would rather us dance in that versus be like, no, I'm not going to fucking do that. You know, like that attitude, they're just not going to be in my office anyway. But we want somebody that is teachable, adaptable, that they can be humble when they come in with this team. Obviously, all of our docs, we set them up to be doctors. Our team respects that and they honor that. Along with at the same time, like you have to also respect and honor your team, you know, because we are a team and we're doing this together and it's not just one versus the other. And then ultimately knowing that we're doing this for a higher mission and a higher vision, and we want people to be on board with that. So like when I'm interviewing and I'm looking for people, I want I literally look for a who, and I look for somebody that's aligning with that, not necessarily based on your skill. Like I can teach skill all day long. I want the person, if that makes sense. And so, and just journeying in that and also being okay. Like my newest doc right now, like I can tell she wants to be 5,000 steps ahead where she is right now. And it's totally okay. Like it's just the way her brain works and she wants to be there so much and she wants to have it all figured out. But at the same time, like we do things intentionally so that she's going to be set up with success and brilliance so that she can do the job really, really well. So talk to us a little bit. For me, I'm so excited, really quick. How are you building in you are hiring an associate for the first time? How are you feeling about it? And what are you doing different that's different than me? Because yours is a little bit of a different situation comparable to what I've done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's scary in all of like the best ways. I always feel like when something's intimidating to you, that means you have to like jump in with 2 feet forward and like close your eyes and just go for it, right? So I definitely, when dreaming about things I never really expected or thought about hiring part-time, like from the get-go, I always just figured, let's build to a point where we would just naturally need a full-time person. But we're in this kind of like beautiful space where I do need additional help, but I don't need everything right now. So I live and practice in a place where we have a chiropractic school like around the corner within 15 minutes. And so a lot of students that are coming directly out of school are looking for that full-on, full-time position. So oftentimes when you hear about a part-time opportunity, you're maybe talking about a parent who's looking to come back part-time or someone that just might have other passions in addition to chiropractic care that they want to continue to pursue, or maybe as a caretaker for family members. Like there just might be a different rhythm of life. Maybe they've been in practice or they've been a practice owner of like a smaller practice or their own like kind of independent boutique for a bit and they're just looking to join in, but again, have other personal goals that they're working towards. So I just threw, an advertisement out there looking for someone because we do have times of busyness where I could really use the additional assistance of having another doctor there, especially to, I think also some of the models or examples of practice I had in the past, they were very much more pain-based or like kind of adult-based care. And when you work with pregnancy and when you work a lot with kids and that practice is booming in that way, the adjustments aren't they're just not as efficient. They're not as fast, right? Webster technique, you're doing a little bit more soft tissue with that pregnant mama. And obviously with kids, like they don't lay down on your tables like a 45-year-old adult will. So it's just a little bit of a different rhythm sometimes. And so there were busy times where we'd have multiple families of 3 to 6 people coming in. And so you can do all the maneuvering in rooms that you want, but like it's just going to take time to work through and adjust people. So And then even just having someone else there to help with special appointments, like reporting of findings and stuff. So we do a lot of that kind of on the pre and post end of the week. So the rhythm was, okay, could I have someone that joins us on Mondays and then on Thursdays and then for Tuesday trainings? Because obviously they're a part of the team. We want to make sure that we continue to train and grow together. And so it ended up looking more like 15, maybe 20 hours of work. And that's just not a full-time position. So instead of figuring out, well, what would I offer as like a full-time salary and then adapt that to part-time, I was really encouraged to just do hourly. And then you could base out hourly on skill, right? So like, do you want to just start at a flat rate and have them go, or do you want them to have financial incentive to build up to certain training skills? Are they green? Like, do you need to pour a lot more into training them on communication, on confidence, on the adjusting skills and techniques? Are they coming from another practice and so they have more clinical experience, but now they're just learning how to mold to the way that your practice members are used to experiencing things or have like a certain standard of care for? So that's the cool thing about getting to devise like that perfect offer. And there's a lot of incredible mentors and coaches out there that can help people come up with that. But always at the end of the day, staying integritous to you and also noting that like, you need to know your numbers. One of the biggest things that can leak into culture is if you're not feeling strong or steady with what you're doing for yourself and your own worth in your practice and what you want to take home. If you start giving away the farm for people and you're not emotionally healthy around that, then you can start to resent the fact that you're the business owner taking care of everyone, but not taking care of yourself. So for me, could I have hired an associate ages ago? Sure. But like, I wanted to make sure my team was more taken care of. I was more taken care of before I brought someone else in that I could also take care of them beautifully. And then that's not a part of our equation. Obviously, there's always room to grow. We want to continue to be able to serve our hearts out. And so continue to pour back into our community and have a business that's operational and profitable to be able to provide more. But you need to sit down and be realistic about where your money is coming in and where your money is going out so that you know what you do want to offer in benefits. And so when there is part-time, I'm offering hourly, I offer PTO, but it's also challenging because when they're part-time, if they do want to make up the hours, they could just work more one week, work less the next week. But then again, it doesn't, if they have other passions or reasons for wanting to be part-time, that doesn't honor or buy into what they wanted to actually set up for themselves. So I do an accrual for part-time, or rather for all my PTO. Like for every 30 hours work, you accrue 1 hour of PTO. So once you're out of the training or probationary period, you start accruing that. So for a team, they can accrue up to 1 week of vacation time, up to 1 week of sick time. So up to 1 week of like sick days, personal days their first year, and then basically they can accrue up to 2 weeks in total. So a week of like vacation PTO and then a week of sick personal days. For my docs, I'm going to let part-time just accrue a week, use the 40 hours like at will with whatever. Full-time, I would definitely build in more of that. We do offer maternity leave as well. For part-time, full-time, I have it as a slightly less when it's part-time. Like how much is that of paid? And they can use some of their PTO towards that first, obviously as well. And then some of the other things, like I have a continuing education stipend, like a credit that they can use yearly, and they're responsible for their own malpractice and, other continuing educations and growth. But obviously when we do like team-based seminars or our whole team is going on the learning trip, like it doesn't matter if you're part-time or full-time, you're going to come along with us and we're going to pay for that and use that as team bonding and as professional and personal development. I am curious as I start the onboarding process. Obviously, when someone is with you full-time, they grow faster because they're just there and more present. So with part-time, obviously it'll be a little bit different. I've had part-time care advocates in the office. This is just obviously one, the first time I have a doctor, but two, a part-time doctor that won't be with me all the time while we're in practice. So I'm just working through the onboarding process because I also think as much as you need to be approachable as an owner. Like you need to have a good onboarding process for your team members as well as your associate doctors. Otherwise, it feels like chaos. They don't feel like they have clear direction on what to go. And most of the time when people are joining on a job, they literally are doing it and they want to be there and they want to do it well and they want to perform well and they want to be seen and rewarded and applauded for the work that they are doing. So if you don't have metrics or an onboarding process, then there's no kind of standard for them to be able to measure also the way that they feel they are contributing to the practice, to their own personal growth in the practice as well. So but everything else they're going to go through. I mean, my associates, I want them to also learn the things that my CAs do. So that way they can be present. All of our care advocates are cross-trained between front desk duties and then other duties in the office. And so I want my associates to be able to understand that process. I think it's important. We're not just going to go right into doctor training. I want them to understand what the clinical and experiential process is that every single person in the community goes through when they come in and through our doors, because that also gives that associate doctor context as to the education those patients are receiving, the standard of excellence, the understanding of what goes into our paperwork and our intake paperwork and the way that we file things. Like it's not just about the act of the adjustment, but the whole of the experience and care planning and all of that. So it's fun. It'll definitely be a little bit again of an onboarding process, but we did a 2-year contract for this first part-time associate. Because again, like you are investing a lot of your time, your knowledge, your skills in a person that is present. You want them to be there. It doesn't mean that they're going to always be there forever, but it can be really disheartening if you pour all your time and energy and teach someone how to do something and spend your time doing that over 6 months for them to just turn around and say, I'm leaving.
Had that happen.
Yeah. And so many people poured into me as a student and mentored me, but it was a mentorship. I wasn't an employee. So there are definitely like nuances of that. Come hang out with us at Homestead. Come hang out with me all the time. I'll share all the things with you in the world. But if you're going to come be a part of our practice, come be a part of our practice then. Not for the sense of serving our community, not just for the sense of serving the self. And I think that's why it's important in the interview process to really be asking the right questions. So go back and listen to our interviewing episode where we talk about all those things, because you truly can teach someone, again, how to do processes and systems and procedures in the office, but teaching them how to be a human being and be present, who's interested in your culture, who's interested in advancing your team culture and participating with your team versus just coming in, clocking and clocking out are two very different things. Or someone that's interested only in just learning from you as a small business owner versus learning from you as a mentor, a leader, a doctor, an adjuster, and continuing to help that grow them in the way that they're going to be serving alongside with you for your community.
So I think as we close this up, so you brought this to light. We are going to do an episode all about onboarding. Woo! Next time. So stay tuned for next week, because we are really going to just dive in what that looks like. And I'm going to share what I've done with mine. And obviously Marisa is getting ready to literally onboard brand new for the first time. So we'll probably have lots more
this journey with me.
Right. Yeah. Like, come on, like, let's do this thing. So we're going to talk about that. So thank you guys for joining us today. I really hope that if you're looking for a position, I would just really encourage you to know your worth, along with be adaptable in the opportunity to know that if you are choosing the right place and you are valued or worth, you're going to be shown that in return. So, and also for docs that are providing an associate, I really hope that you know that they really can add. I think sometimes we look at this experience as, I don't know, like it just can be that an associate is not necessarily, it's just like a workhorse or somebody that's coming in and they're not necessarily adding like life or value. And it's like, goodness gracious, these are for one human beings, but at the same time, like we have the opportunity to do freaking miraculous, transformative care with people. And then they're the ones that are going to help us do that. And maybe they're also helping you buy back some time. Maybe they're also looking for something to add into their life so that they can also grow their family, grow their future, whatever that may look like too. So this is a partnership. It's not just, hey, I'm hiring you, you got to work for me, and that's all. Like I truly believe it really is a partnership, and it's a rhythm to understand each other as humans and really empower that as well. So
Well, I think that's where it's important too when you are starting this journey is to be very, very clear and honest with yourself of what you're looking for, and
Yes.
then be that transparent with the person you're hiring. There have been a lot of situations where a doctor will hire an associate and they come in thinking that they're going to learn from this doctor and serve alongside of this doctor and really grow and gain confidence. And they get hired, and by the time they know the basics of how to do things, that other doctor is pieced out.
Right.
They intended to hire because they wanted to go do the things that they want to do in their own life. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Right.
You put the time in, you want to go be present with your family or your hobbies or whatever it else is you're doing, or you're burnt out, you just need a break for a sabbatical. Like, so be it. But be very clear with that person, because maybe now that person that's looking for a mentorship really isn't the appropriate associate for your office. You need someone with experience that's going to come in. Otherwise, it's going to taint both of your guys' experience. And that's also going to leak then into the practice member's experience.
Absolutely. So y'all come on back next week. We're going to talk about all about onboarding. Thank you guys for joining us on this conversation. We hope you enjoyed it. So rate our show, share with your friends, follow us, and we look forward to chatting with you next week.
Bye.